All right, guys. How you doing, Matt? How are you?
I'm doing better. How are you? Good to talk to you, man. It's been a little bit.
Doing good. Yeah, it has been a little bit. Today has been absolutely crazy for us. You can see at the top of the watch list, Clearfield, one of my largest holdings, down 13%, but we're going to work that out. I wanted to bring you on to talk about some of your top stocks. I know you've been talking about Yatra a lot, Yatra Online, YTRA. I wanted to get an update on ACTG from you. And are you still in PTE or familiar with that PTE story?
Yeah, I still have a small position into PTE, and I mean they have an acquisition offer, pretty firm, and now they're doing analysis to make sure it goes through. And
We'll start with that first. Let me just pull it up. The
yeah, I think
chart
it's
that
like a
was,
$1.03, and the stock is obviously trading well below it.
yeah.
The person that made that acquisition knows that it's worth so much more than where it's trading at. I mean, I've never seen a stage 3 asset that's pretty much probably 18 months to market, and they've already been in the market with their product. And from I've spoken with doctors in the past that used it a lot. It's saved people's lives. Former diabetics that use their product to close these crazy wounds. And so, if it wasn't for the market, I think this would be a 200 to $250 million market cap company. And that's just shown how bad biotech is and how
Wow.
damaged venture capital. I mean, obviously you guys have watched biotechs. It's been an absolute disaster. So, here's the board, right? They have to, balance like, hey, how are they going to get more capital? And if this person has the capital to get them to the finish line, so I don't know if it's going to be an option for me to roll my stock over. And so I might take that. I mean, nothing is final right now, but they have to do something, right? They're going to run out of cash in March. What I think is going to happen is they're going to update the market on some of their trial data prior to when, and if it's really, really good, the stock might trade well above, right? And then interest. So they're talking to every private company. I mean, they're talking to a lot of different companies. So a higher offer may come in, I think.
Hmm.
But it depends on financing, and I would think some data that's going to come out in the next probably few months. Obviously, I
If
don't
a
know exactly.
higher offer doesn't come in, you expect them to take this offer at $1.03?
Yeah, I definitely expect they have to. I mean, they either have to do that or raise another capital, and then that would be 100%, 200% dilution. So I don't think shareholders would, and I just don't think they can do an offering that's legal that way based off of past conversations. And obviously, their lawyers are looking into, all kinds of different options. But so I do think they have to do something, and they're not going to let it go to zero and go bankrupt. They have no debt on the balance sheet, so I've never seen a company
Wow.
with
How much?
no.
How much cash do they have?
Well, they had 25 million, but they're burning 6 million a quarter, and they're cutting costs. They told me they're cutting costs. So their burn is going to go down. So that was that as of September 30th. So we have 6, 12, yeah, 18. So yeah, you don't want to. They have to do a deal by March because, in my opinion, because you need some cash leeway. You don't want to run out of cash. And like I said, the technology is amazing. I am so shocked. And obviously, we made a lot of money on the upwards. I bought back in. I'm down a lot here. But I did sell on some of these big, huge rips, earlier, and then bought back a lot of stock that I am down a considerable amount. But and I can't blame it on the company because I've spoken with the company. They're doing everything they can, and I mean, I've spoken with many other institutional investors that have never seen this type of stock with this much potential trading in a $7 million market cap. But then again, you're an institution. You can't get stock. You're not going to go in there without moving the stock from 70 cents to $4. You would need, some retail to lock up a lot of the shares, right? And then at that point, the stock would go well above the offered price, and then that would give the company more negotiation power, I would think. So that's where I'm at with that. Is disappointing, but you're not going to have all winners, right?
Yep.
And I've taught that. I mean, we had some monsters. I mean, like I said, I had a really, actually decent year last year.
Nice.
versus where it could have been. And this was my big loser by far.
Awesome. Well, yeah, you've had some really good pick stars, especially early last year. I remember that, and I was in you with a bunch of those. The year got harder as it went along, but great update on PTE, 75 cents by 77 cents with a buyout offer on the table of $1.03. So where do you want to go next? ACTG or Yatra?
Yeah, I just spoke with management.
On which one?
ACTG, literally today.
ACTG. Oh, okay. Tell us
That
about
was right before our call. That's why I was like,
it. Nice little
rushing
chart
and
here.
not paying attention. So I didn't get a chance to write down the notes. So usually I'd have notes and be able to talk about it. But so there's a management change. The old CEO, who I absolutely did not like at all. There was many other institutional investors that were not a fan that I've spoken with. He stepped down and retired. And they brought in MJ McNulty, who I spoke with for the first time today. And I believe this guy has what it takes to get this company to the next level. He's a deal maker. He came from Starboard. Okay. And for the people that don't know Starboard in the institutional community, they are considered with Icon, all the other great activists as the best, literally the top 1%. They have compounded, don't quote me on this, it's probably 25, 30. I mean, they're one of the best compounders for value-based investors. And the reason I got in the stock in the first place is when Starboard said they were going to get involved with the company. Now, Starboard has an offer, and you know this, for a rights offering. And they told me today, right, and obviously they're committed to buying 15 million shares at 525. Right. Where's it trading right now? 410, 412, 440. Yeah, 414.
Okay, so there's 43 million. I've been involved in a rights offering like this before, and let's say the way it works, correct me if I'm wrong, but if there's 50 million shares, so if let's say 30 million shares, say they want to participate, you would just get a proportional thing. So you'd be bought out of 50% of your shares at 525. Is that
No,
the way it
no,
works?
no. That's not a rights offering. You're thinking of what's that called?
Oh, that's right. I'm thinking of a
You're oh my goodness. I've done those before. It's called something
yeah.
else where they have so they're not buying out the whole company at 525. What they've said is there's a lot more value than 525. We're willing
Yeah.
to do a stock offering at 525
Yeah.
of 15 million shares, and that at least they might do more so that they can fund
Oh,
acquisition.
Starboard will be buying new shares at 525 from the company?
Correct. At least
Oh,
15
okay.
million. At
Rights
least.
offering. Yeah, okay. I got it all wrong then. Okay. Yeah, it's something else. I forgot what the other thing is called. Okay. So they're investing
At
15 million
least another
shares
15 million at 525 because
at
there's a lot
525.
more value. So the current book value I think
Got
is
it.
575 with the way that the rights offering is structured. But that's discounting. They have some really valuable assets that are not priced accurately. So my guess is the book value is closer to 650.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was, Dutch auction. Someone just private messaged me Dutch auction.
Yeah, Dutch
Is what the other
auction.
one. So yeah, okay. So I mix those up. So basically the thesis here is at some point within by February, I think that
Yeah,
right?
they obviously they said in the next couple weeks, right? They can't tell, but they're saying
Right.
they're going to get some additional information out in the near future, and they said they'd get it done in the first quarter. My guess is if they get a new press release out, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks,
Right.
whatever it is, it'll be shortly thereafter.
So basically we could see a press release saying Starboard has invested X millions of dollars at $5.25 a share. And I guess when the market sees that, usually the stock will re-rate to at least that, 525 number on the day that press release comes out, right?
Correct. Especially since the book, they'll have maybe say an updated book value. I mean, it's all speculation, but the first press release would not be that. They'd have to then, come out with further details on how we could participate, right? So I think the first press release would be like, a week.
Okay, because anyone can participate. It's not a private placement.
So
Starboard.
he thinks like a big investor that won't be able to go in there and move the stock to $6-7 might come in there and participate at 525 because they can get a huge block. So so they're not sure, and then they might say they might know, and they know the pipeline, right? They know, like they said, the pipeline of possible private and public deal is at like all-time kind of highs. So they've told me this for months. And the new management, they got rid of everybody else and they brought in a bunch of
Well, there's a
really
lot of great deals out there right now. They can get assets really cheap.
exactly. And they said they're looking at $2 billion in doing deals. So that's always been the case, right? And so they brought in a new team. It's a solid group. And I really like the new CEO. He seems like a much better fit, and personality wise, we just meshed on that call.
Nice.
And so he's got his own team in there. They might bring in some additional people, into the future. They can't comment on the deals. They're just that the pipeline, and they're really focused on the type of deals that they're going to want to do. If a one-time opportunity comes like that biotech portfolio, this has always been the case, they're going to take action, right? And so, but they're one of the few people with a lot of money, and there's a lot of different ways they can structure deals. They might bring in co-investors. Like this has always been the case. Like there's many ways they could finance. They have access to credit where other people don't. I mean, Starboard, like they can go to anyone, I would think, on the street, from mid-tier banks to Morgan Stanley, and instantaneously, because of their strategy. Like they're not buying these hot SaaS companies. And the CFO, okay, so since there was so much change in the company, the CFO decided to leave, and he's consulting for 4 more months. He is a SaaS guy. He's a high growth guy. Now, they would buy a growth company if it made sense, like the Woodford portfolio, but they're going to buy cash flowing businesses. And why is that important to the story? So right now it's trading at a function of book value, right? For probably $6 book value. I mean, we're speculating what the assets are actually worth. So usually companies trade at a multiple, right? They don't trade it below assets. Like you could liquidate the portfolio and get 6. So what they've mentioned in the past is, hey, when we bring in companies, we're going to have a multiple. Like you're going to trade at like people are like, oh, this is not a book value story anymore. We got to value it on future cash flow earnings.
Right.
That's been my thesis for the last year. They just haven't completed a big deal. They've done one small deal. They still have this big patent business that is doing way better than expectations. They might, I would think maybe they could sell that off or spin that off, or maybe keep it for cash flow. I mean, there's options. I mean, they want to become the mini Berkshire Hathaway. That's kind of like what they've talked about, is we want to do multiple different private and public deals. And Starboard knows how to come in there. They could literally have a buyer for part of the company right off the bat to make the rest of the, basically pay nothing, I would think. So they have experience doing that. Like they have the private equity connections. So this is something that's in my IRA. It's in my taxable. It's something that I see as like, I have a lot of money into it because I'm an investor in this. This is not a trade. This is, people might make the trade and make money, and that's fine. But I think this is a $12, $14, $15 stock a few years from now. So, money, like for me, it's trading below book value. And I've seen they've compounded at 30%. And, that if I can get a 12, 13 in 3-4 years instead of having my money parked in cash, right? Obviously there's risk, right? They can mess up, but I am backing a horse.
Awesome. I love it. And I love these face-to-faces I have with you. There's so many ideas that go on text, and the ones that really stand out. Like I can really understand the story and get the conviction. So this is really helpful. Matt, really appreciate this. On both ACTG and PTE look like relatively low risk. PTE maybe.
Well, you never. I wouldn't say. The deal could fall through. They might not get capital. But there is no. Right. I would think the fact that there's zero debt, they'd be able to figure out some way from some bank. The board is very connected. Like they former started Cowen. Or I don't know if Peter started it, but yeah, they're very connected to to everybody on the street. So I think something would happen at that point. But right. What happens if Russia hits or any of these? Let's say
you're right.
Valuations come down. With Acacia, they don't have. It's basically a cash play right now. So unless they do a stupid deal, that one is very, very safe because they just have a couple assets that are private that are worth way less than what they're actually worth. So, that's upside when eventually either an acquisition happens. I mean, I'll give you an example. There's a company, Mycovia, and they got a drug approved that's going to transform UTI care. So women, they get UTIs, and they get chronic, and it's a nasty infection for women, and they have a new drug. It's not a public company, Mycovia. You can look at it, but I mean, before the market fell apart, I heard it was going to be $1 billion type valuation, and they own a huge percentage. I can't remember. I haven't looked in a bit, but I think it's like 26% royalty stream. So they don't own the company, but they own a royalty stream. And as different milestones come, they get revenue. So they've had something. I bet in the next quarter, because they got approved, and now it's launched into the market, they're going to get a nice royalty check, which is obviously 100% margin. And so that will go right to the bottom line. Well, they still have some NOLs to give up. They still have some NOLs to use as well. So that's an example of something listed on the balance sheet at a fraction of what it's worth. I think it's listed at 15 million, 25. I mean, I'd have to go back and look, but if they're getting these huge royalty payments, and someone might want to buy them out, right? I mean, like, no company wants to have this big, huge royalty stream they have to pay out. So the company might either in an acquisition, they'd have to, so they might have a windfall, 50, 100 million. I mean, the talk has been up to 200 million at one point, to Acacia. Now, I don't know, obviously the markets have changed a lot. So, if it's a 50 million or even 100 million, right? Well, what's going to happen to the stock, if that happens? So that's an option, and something really good happening with a company that's, and I'll get an update at some point how well they're doing with this new drug that Mycovia offers.
Awesome. I love that background, the context, and how you talked about that risk. That's great. Let's go to the last one here. Yatra Online, YTRA. I've seen you talking about this a lot. I don't know the amount you talk about this. Can I gather that this is your favorite of the three, maybe?
No. This is a catalyst play.
Catalyst play. Okay.
Yeah. So there is a Seeking Alpha article that just came out that, if you haven't seen it, they're going to do a much better job of me talking about. Like, I know some other things that they didn't kind of talk about, more macro type stuff. But India is the new China. I mean, their stock market, and I haven't looked in 3 weeks because I'm here in Mexico. I'm just doing my own thing, and we'll talk about that offline. But anybody wants to come to Puerto Vallarta, I'm here for at least the next month or two. I'll be more than happy to show you around. I have connections everywhere. I've been living here since October, I think like October 10th, and I'm going to be here through probably at least mid-March. And so if you guys are looking to get out of the cold, or you want to come have some fun in Mexico, feel free to find me on Twitter or message Ben for my number. I am a gracious host. My good friend, in between jobs, I like, dude, come out. He's like, I'm coming for a month. He's staying with me. He came yesterday. Is already having an amazing time. So the offer's open to all the story trading. That is a benefit of being a member of Story Trading.
Awesome. And sounds great. By the way, how do people follow you on Twitter? What's your Twitter handle?
Oh, I just changed it to my name because people are like, hey, why don't you put your name? I think it's Matt_Kolb_.
So we'll get that up here on the screen so people can follow you. All right. There we go. There you go. Matt Kolb on Twitter. That's how you can follow him. All right. Awesome. So you're
So for the reason I've been involved, and I've been involved with this, I mean, I first loaded up, I think it was 70 or 80 cents, 60, and I've been averaging up like crazy. And the reason being is India is literally the new China. Their stock market is close to all-time highs. Their valuations are still 10 times multiples. There's very few publicly traded companies in India. Okay. A lot of companies will go public in India and then go public in the United States, and you're going to have a pretty similar valuation. This is the first time that a company has been listed in the United States that is now going to list in India, where valuations are absolutely crazy. There's a competitor, and I haven't looked, but at one point, and I still think it's trading that because it's got $1 billion valuation, it's still trading at around 8 to 10 times sales. Here's the thing. Remember, I thought the call was in an hour. I was going to do this work prior to the call. And so I haven't been able to actually do the research that I was planning on doing for the next 40 minutes.
Okay. No, this has been very informative. You know your stuff very well. It's been very helpful already. So in terms of the timelines, so they're going to do an IPO in India?
Yeah, an India listing. So I just call it IPO because people...
Yeah, India listing. Have they had a PR stating their intent to do that?
Oh yeah, for the last 8 months. Like it's so hard. Like,
okay.
Let me go back there. India will not let companies go public. I mean, unless it's like a really like interesting, reputable type of company. It's a very diligent process. It was supposed to be done, I was guessing July, and look where we're at. Now it's February. So it was originally supposed to be June, then roadshow, then July, and now we're in February. So that's how much due diligence was done on this company prior to coming out.
Okay, so what's have they given any timelines officially?
Yeah. I mean, they can't say an official timeline, but the announcement was in December that they got approval, and then the roadshow I think started the second week of December. And based off of timelines, I'm thinking mid-February. But obviously, that based off the Indian government, that can get pushed out. And the article, and like I said, everyone should read the Seeking Alpha article. There was new names. So India, if you want to get involved, you travel is a huge thing, right? Anything travel, like these super apps are all being built, like Google. So like all these companies like Tata, I can't remember, they named a bunch of them, are all building these super apps, and they either have a travel piece of it, and so if you don't have a travel,
like WeChat, right? Is that another one?
Yeah. They're similar, but they weren't named because it's Chinese, right? So there's a lot of other companies, India-based, that are looking to build out, their portfolio. And so either an IPO happens or the company gets acquired prior, right? So that's what I'm saying is like, okay, there could be an acquisition announced at any day, right? And the reason why this stock doesn't move, and it's because it's very illiquid. So you do have to be careful. There's about 5 people, 6, 7, I don't know, funds that own, I think it's like around 50% of the float. And 2 of those members, Mac Capital and McGuire, own 30 something, 33, like 2 funds. And so they're not going to be able to sell their stock into this, right? I think the only way they get out, this is my personal opinion, is through an acquisition. They both have a member on the board. And one of the members on the board, I believe, is making a big impact based off of 2 recent press releases. So they're licensing their technology to other parts of the world. One was Africa, and I don't know the financial implications. We'll find that out when they can talk about it on the next call, or in the roadshow. Maybe they can talk about it a little bit. And as a U.S. investor, I won't be able to participate. But who knows if maybe I'll talk to someone in India or what.
Matt, let me ask you this. Based on the valuation of the peers, you mentioned that in India, stocks are still trading at like 10 times revenue growth stocks, right?
Yeah.
So
up to, like, there's 5 times 7. Yeah.
Right. So what do you anticipate the dollar equivalent, the Yatra that's listing here in the U.S.?
Well, I don't think they're getting it 10 times, but if you use Ease My Trip 8 to 10 times, someone's going to pay 5 times, in my opinion. I think institutional investors will comp, especially with the M&A opportunities.
Right.
And then if it's trading right now, I haven't run the EVs, but at 260, I think it's trading at 2 times. I think ARBs will come in, right? Either ARBs are going to come in, or they're going to take some of that $100 million that they raise, 50 million, 100 million, and then buy back a bunch of stock.
So you think, as far as the IPO that goes in India, though, you're thinking that maybe it could re-rate to about 2.5 times as a possibility, like right?
No. Like I think it's trading 2 to 2.5 times right now. I think it could go 4 or 5 times.
No, that's what I meant. Like another 2 times to get up to the 5. like there's a potential here for Yatra to go to like $5 to $7 shortly after the
I'm
India
thinking
listing.
4 to 5. I mean, I just don't want to, you know,
Right.
put a huge, you know, what I've learned in the last year, especially, and I've always been this way, is like be very cautious, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like my target is, you know, in an acquisition would be a $5, like $4 or $5. And I think it's gonna, you know, start as time goes on and the IPO gets closer. You know, it's going to re-rate, and if I don't think someone's going to be able to acquire it if they do the India listing, because they're going to have capital. It's going to trade much higher, and you know, so if they're going to want it, they're going to have to buy.
Wait, what do you mean if they do the India listing? You're saying they may not do the listing and they may just sell out before that?
Correct. Just based on, if you read the Seeking Alpha article, that was talked about. There's many different companies, new names that I didn't even know about that were talked about in that article. So because Yatra, like Ease My Trip and Make My Trip are the big consumer oriented travel plays. So I didn't talk about this. Yatra is the #1 corporate, right? It's an institutional, like consumers aren't using, and they're trying to get scale there. And with this capital, I think they're going to be able to, but all the corporates, I mean, and they're picking up new corporate customers a lot every quarter. And you can go back to all the conference calls. They're adding 7, 10, 12, like big corporations. And so that's why they're able to license this technology to other regions, Africa. And I can't believe I forgot the other one that they just signed. But, you know, I'm only one person. And there's a lot of stocks. So, so I think, right, if that's why I think Yatra is a major acquisition, and those two major investors, like, how are they going to sell 35% of the company into something trading 100,000 shares a day? You know, like I said, it might be a year or two. Like, hey, they might do the India listing, and then they might have the capital to really go in, and then the stock's at 5, 6, and then someone's going to have to pay up. Right. So it all depends on whether the offer is right prior. If it's not, you know, and like I said, I don't know if they're in any M&A talks, but the article shows, you know, and it kind of walks step by step. So like I said, definitely look at the article. There's a lot more that I'm not remembering from it that was in there that was new to even to me.
Awesome. So awesome background. Matt, I think we're going to have to leave it there because tomorrow's CPI. And we got 20 minutes left in the trading day. I got to do some of the like reallocations of and raise some cash ahead of possible event tomorrow with CPI data. So I do have to run, but I definitely can't wait to have you back, and we'll talk offline as well.
And for my last thing, as if we're talking about that, is I think the economy is slowing. Personally, I think the Fed's gonna, no matter what the numbers are, they're gonna have to, you know, slow down. I mean, the people that I'm talking to, it's tough out there. I mean, I remember 2008. I remember certain areas, 14. I mean, it's the Fed is definitely walking a thin line right now. And so I think the market, I think institutions are starting to realize, like, hey, they're going to have to slow down, even if they're going to talk tough.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. Well, hopefully that'll happen. Thank you, Matt, so much. That was so informative, man. I really enjoyed having you. We'll have to do this more often.
I know. Well, here's the thing: is now that I'm starting to get better, I'm going to start doing some research again. So I'm going to start that probably in the next couple of weeks and start looking for more ideas. Right. So now it's just been okay. I only have enough hours in the day to focus on my names, and now I'm going to start looking now, especially with a lot of value ideas. And like, I'm a catalyst guy normally. I mean, ACTG, Yatra, they all have some type of catalyst actually. You know, so that's kind of my MO, and I have
catalyst. I love that too.
Yeah, I mean, there's another, like, bring me on in the future. I have a couple more names that I'm involved with and researching. I'll even bring them up at that point.
Awesome. Sounds good, Matt.
All right, buddy.
Take care.
Peace.